After 10 years of marriage, she disappeared. What she left behind will change everything forever. Tom opened his eyes to the distant chirping of birds, sunlight cutting through the curtains. He rolled over to see Sarah's side of the bed perfectly undisturbed, and the panic rushed in like a tidal wave. A cold shiver crawled up his spine as dread suffocated him. "Sarah." His voice cracked the silence, but there was only the echo of his heartbeat in the stillness. He dashed through the house, checking every nook and cranny. Had she gone for a morning jog? No, her shoes were still by the door untouched. The kids were still asleep, blissfully unaware. Normally, Sarah's laughter danced through their home like light, but today it was as if someone had pulled the plug on happiness. In a desperate search, he opened a drawer in the kitchen, and there they were, stacked letters, each one a piece of her soul. Trembling hands unfolded the top page, revealing her neat, looping handwriting. "Dear Tom," she had started, but it went on to expose a heart filled with unfulfilled dreams. Each letter laid bare her struggles, her desire to feel recognized, to be more than just a devoted wife and mother. Tom's chest tightened as he absorbed the words, spilling secrets he never knew existed. Sarah had been volunteering at the community center, providing meals and support to families in need, her own gratitude for what they had often shrouded by the pressures of their day-to-day lives. Anguish and admiration twisted within him, battling for dominance. "How could I not see this?" he whispered, half to himself and half as a plea to her, wherever she might be. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As the letters piled up on his kitchen table, Tom realized he stood at a crossroads. A sense of duty burdened him, the kind that comes from losing something precious. Holding fast to the memories of cheerful birthdays celebrated with homemade cakes, he found the strength to push past his confusion. Was it too late for him to embrace Sarah's mission? To give light to the shadows she carried alone? When he ventured into Maplewood, he finally opened his eyes to the struggles lurking just beyond his white picket fence. The town, once a comforting cocoon, now felt like a battleground of inequalities and prejudice. His heart raced with his discovery, with each encounter revealing a community desperate for hope and understanding. As he dug into Sarah's work, he began to stir something in himself, a flicker of a dream he had buried, a craving for connection. But something stirred in the depths, a message awaited in the shadows, threatening his very purpose. What if unraveling Sarah's truth led him straight to heartache? Would it expose the fragility of their marriage or fortify the love they had built? The clock was ticking, each second heavy with unspoken possibilities, and as whispers of Sarah's legacy began to spread through Maplewood, Tom hung on a precipice, undaunted yet fearful of where this journey would lead him. Would he uncover the truth she might not want him to find? Or was her disappearance the ultimate expression of freedom from a life too tightly woven? Tom stepped out of the house, the warmth of the sun outside contrasting sharply with the chill that had settled in his heart. Each step felt heavy, like he was walking through molasses. The neighborhood buzzed around him, neighbors mowing lawns and kids riding bikes, while he wore an invisible shroud of anxiety. The echo of Sarah's absence lingered in every corner of their town, familiar yet foreign. He made his way towards the community center where Sarah had spent countless hours. The unassuming brick building was a hive of activity, its doors wide open, inviting people in, unlike the fortress that his heart had become. As he approached, he spotted a woman he recognized from the few times he had joined Sarah on her visits. Her kind eyes swept over him, pausing with a hint of surprise. "Tom, are you looking for Sarah?" Clara asked, her voice a blend of hope and uncertainty. An awkward nod was all he could muster. "I need to find her. I didn't know. Not until now." Clara's brows knitted together, and she stepped closer. "I know this is hard, but you should know Sarah touched so many lives here. She was a voice for those who felt voiceless." Warmth spread across Tom's chest, a flicker of pride mixed with confusion. His fingers tightened around a pamphlet she handed him, detailing a community event meant to aid local families struggling with food insecurity. It felt like a lifeline not just to the people Sarah had been helping, but also to him, a way to grasp what she had believed in. "Join us tomorrow," Clara urged, her eyes sparkling with determination. "It would mean a lot to everyone. They need to hear your story too." He swallowed hard. The thought of sharing his own vulnerabilities both terrifying and thrilling. Could suffering lead to connection? Could he bridge the invisible gap that had grown between Sarah's life and his own? The next day, Tom stood at the front of the room, palms damp against the podium. He could feel the weight of dozens of eyes on him, their faces reflecting a collage of hope and expectation. He cleared his throat, the silence palpable. "I'm here because of my wife Sarah," he began, his voice shaking. "She showed me how life is about more than what's just in front of us. She believed in giving, in the importance of community." As he shared memories of her laughter and how her kindness had rippled through their lives, he could feel pieces of himself shifting. With every word, memories of their marriage intertwined with the reality of her absence, revealing a man who had not just lost a partner, but had also neglected to truly see her. When he finished, the room remained silent for a moment before Clara stepped forward, eyes shimmering. "Thank you, Tom. You've brought Sarah back to us tonight." The heat of tears stung his eyes. It struck him then. This wasn't just about Sarah's disappearance. It was about his becoming Bancheng. It was about embracing the shadows and light, understanding how loss could carve out space for rediscovery. But as people began to circulate around him, sharing their own stories of struggle, the hint of unease in Tom's gut resurfaced. What if he had glimpsed only the surface of Sarah's story? What if the letters held deeper truths, things he still didn't know? He left the center, heart racing and thoughts swirling. He was piecing together a life without her, yet the fear of what lay behind the next letter still haunted him. How far would he go to uncover the truth about Sarah, and would it be enough to bridge the chasms that had formed in his heart? With the evening sky darkening overhead, Tom knew he needed to delve deeper. He had only scratched the surface of what Sarah had truly felt. What would happen when he uncovered the full weight of her dreams and fears? Would it tear him apart or bind him closer to the memory of the woman he loved? Tom's footsteps echoed through the empty hallways of their home, a place that once buzzed with laughter and life. Each room felt like a museum of memories, fragile, beautiful and haunting. He paused in the living room, glancing at the empty space where Sarah had often curled up with a book, a soft smile playing on her lips. The silence pressed in around him, thick and suffocating. The pamphlet Clara had given him was still clutched in his hand, the words community and togetherness glaring vividly against the stark white paper. He knew he needed to understand more about Sarah's world, what she had created outside of their life together. He wanted to feel her still among the people she had impacted. His resolve hardened. He climbed the stairs to their shared office, a room filled with half-finished projects, books on philanthropy, and a corkboard plastered with photos documenting happier times. As Tom pushed the door open, a burst of dust filled the air, catching in his throat. It was as if time had frozen here. He made his way to Sarah's desk. It was meticulously organized, a contrast to his chaotic workspace. Every book, every paper felt like a thread tethering him to her. He sat down, his fingers grazing the surface. His gaze fell upon an envelope, slightly out of place, pushed back against the wall. It looked familiar. Tom's heart quickened when he recognized Sarah's handwriting. The words "for Tom, when you're ready" were penned across the front. He hesitated, fear and curiosity swirling in equal measure. Did he dare to open it? Taking a deep breath, he ripped the envelope open, his pulse pounding in his ears. Inside were several letters, each dated and carefully sealed. The first read, "I want you to know how much I've appreciated our life together, but I feel lost in a way I can't articulate." As he read, a chill crept up his spine. Each letter revealed fragments of Sarah's thoughts, her struggles, her dreams unfulfilled, her worries about their marriage. A woman who had felt invisible beneath the weight of obligations and expectations, even in the warmth of their partnership. With every word, Tom's chest constricted. He realized he had failed to see her battles and had focused too much on his own. He could barely breathe as he continued reading. In another letter, she had woven her hopes for a brighter future. Not just for herself but for him too. "If I could urge you to explore your own happiness beyond our life, I would." The heartbreak was palpable. each line underscoring her yearning for connection. Tears streamed down his cheeks. They weren't just tears of sadness, they were also releasing a decades-long layer of guilt and regret. A tidal wave of realization crashed over him. Sarah hadn't vanished. She had been shouting from inside their home all along. He had built walls that kept them apart instead of growing the bond that had once held them together. Tom knew he had to honor her legacy somehow. He would dive into this community, to piece together the parts of her life that remained unknown to him, and to share his journey in a way that she would have wanted. Maybe this could be the start of something transformative. Not just for him but for those around him who had felt Sarah's absence as deeply as. He folded the letters and placed them back in the envelope. A resolve kindled within him. He wasn't just piecing back together echoes of the past. He was fighting to forge a new path forward. But just when he thought he had a grip on the truth, a soft knock echoed through the house, momentarily pausing his thoughts. Tom turned, heart racing. Who could it be? Perhaps someone with more pieces of Sarah's story? Or worse, someone who still held secrets he wasn't ready to face? With the door slightly ajar, everything inside him recoiled the fear of what lay beyond it. What would he discover? Tom's stomach churned as the knock came again. A gentle yet insistent sound that seemed to draw out the shadows of the room. He shuffled cautiously towards the door, each step heavy with uncertainty. There was something unsettling about the interruption. The house was supposed to remain a cocoon of nostalgia, a sanctuary for his memories of Sarah. Who could dare to disturb that? With a hesitant hand, he opened the door just a crack, peering out into the dim hallway. Standing there was a woman, her face partially obscured by the umbrella she clutched tightly, droplets of rain still glistening on the fabric. Her eyes were familiar, sparkling with recognition, though Tom couldn't place her immediately. "Tom?" she asked softly, her voice a fragile thread in the air. "It's Clara. Sorry to just show up like this." His heart raced. Clara, the friend who had given him the pamphlet, the one who had come to his aid in his time of need. He swung the door wider, letting her step inside. "I wasn't expecting you," he replied, trying to steady his breath as a sense of unease washed over him. "I thought you could use someone to talk to," she said, shaking off the moisture from her umbrella. She glanced around, taking in the stillness of the house. "I know this place means a lot to you and to Sarah." As he stepped aside to let Clara in, Tom felt a mix of gratitude and anxiety. Should he invite her in, or remain cloistered in the memories he had just begun to unravel? It was too late to second-guess his decision. He gestured for her to have a seat. The weight of her presence filled the room. A comforting but strange sensation. "I found some letters," he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "From Sarah. Letters I never knew existed." Clara's expression shifted, her eyes widening in compassion. "Really?" He nodded, swallowing hard. She opened up about her feelings. "Things I didn't see." "Tom, Sarah cared about you deeply," Clara said, her voice gentle yet firm. "But she felt trapped. I think she wanted you both to live fully. Not just for each other but for yourselves too." The word struck him like a lightning bolt. "It's all my fault," he replied, shame-fisting in his chest. "I was so consumed with my own life, my own problems. I never thought about her." Clara leaned forward, searching his face. "You need to honor her, Tom. Dive into what she created. The community she built can help you. Teach you about her, about yourself. You need to understand just how many lives she touched." With her words hanging in the air, Tom felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Perhaps this was the chance he needed. To learn, to grow, to honor the woman who had given him so much. "Will you help me?" he asked, his voice trembling. "I want to know everything. About her work, who she was when she wasn't my wife." A small smile broke Clara's serious demeanor. "Of course. But it won't always be easy," she warned. "There might be things you're not ready to hear." "Ready or not, I need to know." Determination surged through him. This was the moment where he could shift from helplessness to action, from isolation to connection. Just then, as if the universe was throwing its weight behind him, the power flickered before plunging the house into sudden darkness. Tom's heart stopped, the weight of the silence crushing him. "Clara." His voice cracked, the shadows now dark and twisting. "We'll get through this together," Clara assured him, though the uncertainty hung thick between them. "Let us light a candle. And then we can start digging into Sarah's world." As Clara moved to the kitchen, Tom's heart raced once more, not just from the sudden darkness, but from the impending exploration of Sarah's life. What would he discover? Would he even be ready for the reveals that awaited him? As the flickering glow of candlelight filled the room, he sensed a deeper unraveling awaited them both just beyond that light. Clara returned, a candle in hand, the soft light casting flickering shadows on the walls. Tom watched her as she placed it on the table, the glow bringing warmth to the cold, dark room. It felt strange, this juxtaposition of her presence and the memories of Sarah that lingered like a fog. "Okay, let us get started," Clara said, her voice steady despite the surrounding darkness. As she settled into the chair opposite him, her expression transformed from one of uncertainty to a focused determination. "What do you want to begin with?" Tom pushed his hair back, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "The letters. Where do I even start?" His hands trembled slightly as he recalled the haunting words he had read in his isolation. "Start with the feelings," Clara encouraged gently. "What did the letters reveal that surprised you?" He took a deep breath. "She felt lonely even when we were together. It's painful to read that now. I thought we were happy." Clara nodded, understanding flooding her eyes. People don't always express their struggles, not even to those they love. But you need to know that it's not just about you. Relationships are complex. "Yeah, but I was supposed to be her partner," Tom replied, emotion crackling in his voice. "If I had only listened more, paid attention." His throat tightened with regret. "Don't drown in guilt," Clara said sharply, but her tone softened quickly. "You're here now, ready to discover her world. That's what matters." Tom's gaze dropped to the table, where a fraying scrapbook rested. He reached for it, feeling the textures of the pages. "This is from her community work," he whispered, his fingers tracing the edges of the cover. "I never really understood how deep it ran." "Then let us explore that." Clara leaned forward, excitement lighting her face. "Open it. See what she left behind." He opened the scrapbook, and as he flipped through the pages, memories poured out. Photos of Sarah at local events, smiling brightly, surrounded by people who adored her. A group of children laughed in one picture, their joy infecting the air like a sunny day after rain. In another image, Sarah was planting flowers with community volunteers, her hands dirty but her spirit shining through. "Look at how alive she was here," Tom said, a mix of awe and sorrow in his voice. "I never knew she was involved in so much." Clara leaned closer, her presence steadying him. She poured her heart into this. "Each picture tells a story, and there are notes you can read too. Let her voice shine through." Tom opened to the next page, and a burst of energy surged through him as he found snippets of letters that Sarah had penned. "To my friends," one began. "Thank you for being my light during times of doubt." Each word felt like a lifeline thrown into the murky waters of grief. He felt Sarah reaching out from beyond, trying to pull him towards a life she had built. With every note and photograph, new layers of Sarah's character unfolded before him. There seemed to be belonging in this community she had forged, connections he had never realized were so important to her. Suddenly, a letter slipped from the scrapbook, fluttering to the ground. Clara picked it up, her eyes scanning the words. "Tom," she murmured softly, her voice faltering a bit, "you need to read this." "What does it say?" he asked, leaning forward, curiosity and dread swirling within him. Clara's eyes widened, filled with an emotion Tom couldn't quite read. "It's about the reasons she felt trapped." "You might not be ready to hear all of this," his heart pounded. Would this letter change everything? The air thickened around them as he reached for the paper, the future of his journey hanging in the balance. "What if this is the last piece I need?" Tom's voice trembled, uncertainty clinging like mist. Should I read it now?" The candle flickered, and for a moment, the shadows danced ominously around them. Tom knew that whatever lay in that letter could alter everything he thought he knew. Would he still find her in the end, or just another layer of loss? "You should," Claire encouraged her, eyes holding his gaze firm. "You deserve to know." Tom nodded, feeling the weight of the decision. It was risky, stepping further into the unknown, but perhaps it was exactly what he needed. He took a deep breath, unfolding the letter slowly, readying himself for whatever truth awaited him. As Tom unfolded the letter, an almost electric anticipation crackled in the air. He could see Sarah's familiar handwriting, fluid and elegant strokes that felt like a whisper from the past. "Just read it," Clara said softly, her eyes fixed on him, ready to support whatever surfaced from the depths of that paper. He cleared his throat, the letter trembling slightly in his hands, and then began reading out loud. "If you're reading this, then you've found my secret." A chill crept over him. He had never thought of secrets lurking in their life together. "I've hidden parts of myself from you, parts that I thought would protect us both," he read, his voice barely above a whisper. "I feel lost in this beautiful life we built. You see the smiles, but behind them, sometimes it feels like drowning." The words hit him like a wave, his heart clenching tight. Tom struggled to hold back tears. She felt like she was drowning? He echoed, the weight of realization crashing over him. Why didn't I see this? Clara's hand rested reassuringly on his shoulder. "It's not your fault, Tom." She was fighting her own battles. He pushed through the letter, the words gnawing at his insides. "I love you, but my heart feels heavy. I thought marriage would be a refuge, but I often feel like it's a cage." Each line deepened the bitterness of his grief. He could picture the moments they shared, the laughter, the quiet evenings. How had he missed this undercurrent of despair? "Maybe I should have asked more questions," Tom said, his voice cracking. "How could I let her feel so alone?" "Stop beating yourself up," Clara said, her tone firm but gentle. "You can't change the past. All you can do is learn from it." He felt the warmth of her words, but the letter pulled him deeper into his own guilt. She mentioned friends who noticed her struggles. Why was I blind to it? "Maybe you were too close." "Sometimes love can blind you," Clara said, her eyes glistening as she tried to understand the anguish he felt. "Just keep reading." Tom nodded, taking a moment to steady himself before pushing onward. "I want to break free and find joy again," he read, each word feeling like a declaration of resilience. "But I don't know how. I wonder if we can ever go back to that blissful beginning. Can we find a way to love more openly?" His heart ached at her yearning for connection, a connection he had thought was already here. "Sarah," he murmured, the name heavy with longing and regret. "I never knew you were asking for more." "Keep going," Clara urged gently, and despite the turmoil bubbling within him, he read on. "I wrote this letter in hopes that if I can't find the courage to unlock my heart, you might find a way to understand me better somehow, even if I'm not here." The tension in the room escalated. "Not here." Tom choked out, his heart racing. What did she mean? Clara's expression turned somber, and he could see her own heart breaking for the woman who struggled so bravely. "I think she wanted you to know that she needed space," Clara replied quietly, but the way she phrased it, "It feels like a goodbye." A lump formed in Tom's throat as he absorbed that possibility. "I can't believe this. I need to keep reading." Tom's pulse quickened again with intensity. "I hope that someday you'll forgive me for the darkness I embraced. And if you read this and I'm not by your side, remember our love." "But also," Clara gasped softly, her eyes wide. "Tom, it could be a clue. You need to finish. Remember our love, but also find your own way back to the light," he concluded, the weight of the words crashing down. His thoughts raced. If she felt imprisoned, where had she gone? Was this an encouragement to find closure, or a message to seek healing? He sat there stunned, grappling with the whirlwind of emotions that lashed against him. Everything felt like it shifted. The candle flickered as if fueling the chaos mounting inside him. "Clara, what if I can't find my way back? What if Sarah really needed me to break out to?" His voice trembled with fear and uncertainty. Tom stared into the candle's flame, picturing Sarah standing in it, a spark of hope against the shadows. "I need to know where she went, why she felt trapped. There must be more than we find the others," Clara said with emphatic resolve. "There's a whole community connected to her. They might have answers." The path before him felt like a daunting labyrinth now, but deep down, a flicker of determination ignited. It was time to unravel the truth behind Sarah's secret life. A truth that could lead him not just to her past, but perhaps to a way to heal. "Let us do it," he said, gripping the edges of the letter, ready to discover. Where would this journey lead them next? The next morning, the sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the room in a warm embrace. But inside, Tom felt like he was drenched in ice water. Clara had made coffee and was already in the kitchen, her movements steady and purposeful. He could hear the clinking of mugs and the soft hiss of the coffee maker, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in his mind. "Tom," Clara called out, her voice cutting through the fog of his thoughts. "I've got a plan. I spoke to a few of Sarah's friends last night. They're meeting us at the park today." He barely processed her words. What if they don't even want to talk? Or worse, what if they blame me for what happened? Clara stepped into the living room, holding 2 steaming mugs. "You have to give them a chance. They might have insights into Sarah's struggles that we don't. This is about understanding her." Taking a deep breath, Tom accepted the mug, the heat seeping into his hands. "Yeah, okay. I didn't think it would be like this. A search for answers instead of a peaceful memory of her." "I know." Clara's eyes softened. "But maybe she wanted this, maybe she wanted you to seek out the knowledge and connection she felt she was missing. You're not alone in this. We're in it together." He nodded, trying to ignore the flicker of doubt. They prepared to leave, and as they stepped out into the fresh air, Tom felt a mix of dread and anticipation. Each step toward the park seemed to echo in his ears, amplifying his worries. When they arrived, a small group was gathered under a sprawling oak tree at the park. A couple of familiar faces turned towards them. Sarah's college roommate Lisa stood there, her arms crossed tightly. The moment their eyes met, Tom felt a wave of vulnerability wash over him. "Why are you here?" Lisa asked, her voice sharp, yet tinged with curiosity. We found a letter from Sarah. She mentioned feeling trapped and I want to understand," Tom stammered. He had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, yet here he was, fumbling over words. Lisa's expression shifted, and the tightness in her shoulders relaxed a fraction. "She tried to reach out, but it felt like she was fading away, like we were losing her." "Fading," Tom echoed, the word hanging heavy in the air. "Did you notice anything specific? Any signs?" As the others chimed in, sharing snippets of conversations, their concerns, the moments that should have sent red flags, Tom felt an emotional weight lift slightly. They hadn't just been blind. They'd all been unable to see past their own lives, their own worries. Lisa spoke again, her voice softer now. She talked about needing to find herself. "I wish I had pressed her more. I thought I had time." Tom took that in. Time was a thief, transforming small worries into regrets and lost opportunities. He looked around at the group, at the faces that once shared joy with Sarah, and now mirrored his own pain. Pieces of a puzzle that needed to be put together. "What if this is all just digging up old wounds?" one of the other friends voiced. "No," Clara interjected firmly. "This isn't just about the wounds. This is about healing. About understanding." Tom nodded, his heart racing. Sarah wanted us to find her true self. If she left this letter, she believed there was still a chance to reconnect. To find a way forward. A murmur of agreement spread through the group. They began sharing more, opening up about the deeper issues they each faced while knowing Sarah. Moments turned to hours and the questions transformed from hopeless spirals into heartfelt conversations. But just when Tom thought they were starting to heal, Lisa shared something that struck a nerve. There was a retreat she almost went to, a place in the mountains. I think that was where she really wanted to be. Tom felt a jolt pass through him. "Then that's where I'll go. I'll find her. I have to know if she's okay." Clara placed her hand on his back, steadying him. "We'll go together. Whatever it takes, we'll get there." As Tom glanced back at the gathering, he realized that this was just the beginning of a journey, one that would dig deeper and uncover even more secrets. "Let us go find Sarah," he said resolutely, the determination building within him, setting the stage for what lay ahead. Would the mountains hold the answers they so desperately sought? The drive to the mountains felt like a pilgrimage. The winding roads twisted and turned, flanked by towering pines and rocky cliffs. Clara sat beside Tom, her hand resting gently on his thigh, a silent promise of support. The radio played soft music, but neither of them could focus on the melodies. Their minds were preoccupied with the weight of Sarah's absence and the uncertainty ahead. "Do you think she really wanted to go to this retreat?" Clara finally broke the silence. Or was it just a fantasy she never intended to pursue? Tom's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. "I'm not sure. But if she mentioned it, it meant something to her. I need to know what that something is." As they approached the retreat center, nestled high in the mountains, a sense of tranquility washed over them. It was a serene place, with wooden cabins that looked like they belonged in a postcard. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dancing shadows on the ground. Yet, even amidst the beauty, unease loomed in Tom's heart. Clara parked the car and together, they stepped out into the crisp mountain air. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice steady, but Tom could see her own apprehension reflected in her eyes. "Ready or not, we have to do this," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. They approached the main lodge, where a few retreat participants mingled outside. Tom's heart raced. What if someone had seen Sarah? What if they had known her? The thought pushed him forward. Inside, a welcoming area opened up into a warm, inviting space filled with plants and cozy seating. The scent of fresh coffee wafted through the air. Tom scanned the room for any sign of Sarah but saw only strangers absorbed in their conversations. A woman with bright, welcoming eyes approached them. "Can I help you?" Tom hesitated, caught between questions and vulnerability. "We're looking for someone. Sarah, she came here a while ago. We're hoping to find out if she's okay." The woman's expression softened. "Oh, Sarah. Yes, she was here. Few months back. She left an impression." Her voice carried the warmth of familiarity that Tom yearned for. She spoke about feeling lost, needing to rediscover herself. "We had some deep conversations." Clara leaned closer, sensing the connection forming. "What did she say? Did she mention anything specific about her plans or her feelings?" The woman paused, recalling memories. She talked about wanting to embrace change. There was a light in her eyes when she spoke of finding her path, but there was also confusion. She seemed torn. Tom's heart sank. Confusion. It was a state he knew too well. Did she ever say where she wanted to go next? He pressed, desperation creeping into his voice. She mentioned wanting to hike to a certain peak nearby. The woman's face brightened as she directed them to a map on the wall. "It's a beautiful climb with breathtaking views. I think she felt a calling up there." As she pointed at the marked trail, Tom felt a spark ignite within him. "That's it, Clara. We need to follow that trail." Before Clara could respond, Tom turned and quickly headed for the exit, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The uncertainty, fear, and hope blended into a singular focus. It felt like he was racing against time. Time that he feared he might have already lost. He glanced back at Clara, who was right behind him, her expression supportive but full of questions. "Tom, you sure about this?" He nodded fiercely. I have to know what she was chasing, what she hoped to find. As they stepped outside into the mountain sun, Tom felt a sense of purpose. But as he looked up at the towering peaks ahead, he wondered what else awaited them on their journey. Would they find answers or more questions? The mountain stood tall and imposing, and he couldn't shake the feeling that it held more than just Sarah's dreams. He turned to Clara, his voice barely a whisper. "What if it leads us to something we didn't expect?" With every step they took, the path beneath their feet whispered of secrets yet to be uncovered. Would this journey bring them closer to Sarah, or unravel even deeper layers of pain? The mountains loomed ahead, inviting yet daunting, holding the promise of revelation. The trail wound upward, and with each step, Tom's heart beat louder. The air was thin up here, sharp and exhilarating, filling his lungs with a rush of clarity. Clara walked beside him, her breath steady despite the incline. He could feel her presence like an anchor, her unwavering support a lifeline against his swirling thoughts. "Tom," Clara said, breaking the silence. "What do you think she found up here? Do you think it's what she hoped?" He paused, taking a moment to glance back at her. "I don't know. I need to understand her better." This was important to her. They rounded a bend, and the view opened up into a breathtaking panorama of jagged peaks and deep valleys. Beauty lay expansively before them, yet the enormity of it all pressed down on Tom. "Feels different." "Different how?" Clara asked, looking at him curiously. "Like it's a place of choices," Tom said, struggling to articulate the sensation rising within him. "A place where you can either find clarity or get lost all over again." As they trekked on, Tom's mind drifted back to the last time he had seen Sarah, the way her eyes had sparkled when she spoke about the retreat, the passion she had for adventure, the desire to find herself. It was what had drawn him to her, what had kept their relationship vibrant for so long. But that light had dimmed over the years until it almost flickered out. What if we're chasing shadows? Clara's voice pulled him back to the moment. What if everything we think we know about Sarah isn't the whole story? Then we'll rewrite it together, he said, surprising himself with the confidence in his own words. We owe her that much. They continued climbing, their breaths mingling with the wind that swirled around them. As they entered a shaded grove, the tall pines whispered secrets, and Tom felt a tingle of anticipation. What would they find at the peak? Would it be a revelation or heartache? After what felt like hours, they reached a clearing, sunlight flooding the space like a warm embrace. At its center stood a rocky outcrop, jutting out toward the sky. Tom's pulse quickened. This had to be at the spot Sarah had dreamed of. I think she stood right here, he said, stepping closer to the edge. He looked into the valley below, where streams glistened like diamonds. I can see why she felt drawn to this place. Clara joined him, and the silence between them shifted. It wasn't just the view that stole their breath. It was the weight of their journey, the shared understanding of loss and longing. What if we find something more than we expected? Clara mused softly, hope glimmering in her eyes. Tom turned to her, his heart tinged with both fear and excitement. More than we expect or more than we're ready for? She nodded, chewing her lip, and he saw reflections of their unspoken fears in her gaze. Before he could respond, a rustle from behind made both of them jump. They turned as a figure emerged from the trees, a woman with an air of familiarity and wild energy. You look like you're searching for something, she said, her voice mirroring the gentle confidence of the mountain. Tom's heart raced. Who are you? The woman smiled knowingly. Some call me the keeper of the mountain's secrets. And you've come to find your friend, haven't you? Tom looked at Clara, his mind racing. What did this woman know? What secrets did the mountain hold that they were about to uncover? Sarah, Tom said, his voice trembling with urgency. Do you know where she is? The shimmer of hope cut through the air. But the weight of unknowing remained heavy. The woman simply smiled, her eyes sparkling with mystery. Ask the mountain what it knows, and you may discover more than you came for. Tom swallowed hard, adrenaline pulsing in his veins. The journey was only beginning, but he felt the gravity of its unraveling. Would they find the answers they sought, or descend into an even deeper labyrinth of confusion? As the woman stepped aside, revealing more of the path ahead, Tom could only hope the mountain would lead them to the truth they desperately needed. But what lay beyond the next bend, and would they be ready for it? The sun hung low in the sky, casting a gilded hue over the mountaintops as Tom and Clara followed the path further into the heart of the wilderness. Each step felt deliberate, a connection to the earth beneath their feet, and to the spirit of Sarah that hovered just out of reach. The keeper of secrets paced beside them, seemingly part of the mountain itself, floating in gentle grace. I can't believe Sarah found this place, Tom said, his voice cracking with the weight of longing. She deserves to be here. She always wanted adventure. A chance to escape. The question is, Clara interjected softly, which parts of her life did she escape from? Love can sometimes feel suffocating even when it's pure. The insight struck him like a bolt of lightning. He had been too focused on how much he missed her that he hadn't pondered why she might have felt the need to leave. But here they were, on a search not only for Sarah but a deeper understanding of herself, and of himself. As they reached the rocky outcrop that overlooked a breathtaking valley, Tom's heart raced in anticipation. He could feel the electric energy in the air, a mixture of hope and fear coiling tightly within him. This has to be it, he said, staring out over the edge. If Sarah stood here, what was she thinking? The keeper of secrets smiled, her eye this time hinting at something profound. The mountain knows her story if you ask the right questions. Tom's breath hitched as he clutched the letters in his pocket. The words felt heavy, pressing against his heart. What would I even say? His voice barely emerged above the gentle rustle of the wind. Speak from your heart, Clara encouraged. Let her know your thoughts, your regrets, but also share your dreams. This place may hold her spirit, and she might hear you just as clearly as we hear each other. Taking a deep breath, Tom stepped forward to the precipice, feeling the rush of the mountain beneath his feet. Sarah, he called out, his voice carrying through the crisp air. I came here because I didn't see you and I didn't understand you. I failed to recognize the dreams hidden behind your smile. I miss you more than I ever knew possible. Silence enveloped him, but it felt sacred, as if the mountain wrapped him in a hug of understanding. I'm trying to honor you, he continued, to dig into your world and discover the woman you were when you weren't just my wife. I want to keep your light alive, even as I wrestle with the darkness, the shadows of my own failures. A breeze swept through the clearing, lifting the strands of his hair as if answering him. Clara stepped beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder. And know that you're not alone, Sarah, she too implored into the void. We're here for you, for all the lives you touched. Tears sprang to Tom's eyes, and he turned back to Clara. What if she is still out there? What if our search leads us to pieces of her that never came back? With soft resolve, Clara replied. Then we will gather those pieces and carry them forward. You hold her legacy now, and it can grow, inspire, and connect, even if she doesn't return. As they stood there, the message hung in the air like the delicate dance of leaves caught in the breeze. Would they discover the threads of Sarah's unfinished stories woven into the mountains? The keeper of secrets nodded slowly, as if sensing their shared conviction. Together you will find what must be revealed. Let us go, Tom said resolutely, stepping back from the cliff and ready to embrace the unknown. Let us explore. As they made their way back down the path, the mountain felt different. It thrummed with stories waiting to emerge, a canvas of connections and transformations. Tom felt a shift, a pulling energy coiling within him, quilting together loss and hope. A glimmer of sunlight caught his attention, the mark of a trail leading deeper into the wilderness, obscured by brush but hinting at something precious just beyond reach. This way, Clara, he called, the urgency of the moment fueling his strides. As they tread cautiously through the underbrush, laughter sprang up around them, stirring the leaves like whispers. Over the next rise there was a shimmering lake, its surface glistening like shards of glass in the sunlight. Sarah, he shouted, breathless with joy and trepidation. Is this where you found solace? But it wasn't just a lake. It shimmered with the communal energy of lives lived, laughter shared, and pain transformed, an echo of everything Sarah had unselfishly woven into others' lives. Can you feel it? Clara said, looking around with a knowing smile. This is what she sought, the connection, the community, the light hidden in the depths. Tom's heart soared. Here in the heart of the mountains, he realized, he wasn't just searching for Sarah's absence. He was finding her presence everywhere it mattered most. Together we'll build something for her, he said with renewed vigor, feeling the words pulse from deep within. A way to honor her life and help others through theirs. This is just the beginning. As they turned to make their way back toward the retreat, a sense of purpose washed over them, uniting their missions, their hearts aligned with the promise of transformation. It wasn't about seeking out Sarah anymore, but embracing the life she had left behind, knowing they could carry her spirit forward. The mountains beckoned. The journey awaited, rich with opportunities to create, connect, and heal, and somewhere in that vast beauty, Sarah's laughter echoed, a reminder that her light would never truly fade. As they ventured forth, Tom resolved to share Sarah's story with the world. Together they would build a legacy strong enough to honor every dream, every struggle, proving that even in absence, love always finds a way to endure. Now this is the moment for you as part of our community. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will ignite your inspiration. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help more people discover these transformative journeys. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. How do you see love and loss intertwine in your life? Your insights could help others too. And remember, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to share it with them. Don't wait, not even one more second. True fans understand just how important it is to support the channel through these actions.